In this lesson, we're going to discuss about lists, tuples, and sets. But we're mainly going to focus on lists since they are such an important concept in Python. So in the last video, we learned about variables, how they store information and how we can operate with them. Now, lists are very similar concepts. We use them to store information. The difference, if you were to compare them, is that lists are collections of elements, while variables represent individual elements, so to speak. More importantly is that lists have a bunch of built-in Python methods that allow us to manipulate them in different ways. Okay, now enough with the theory. Let's open up a Python interpreter shell and play with lists for a little bit. Declaring lists is really simple and straightforward. We use square brackets. So similar to variables, we give the list a name. Let's say stuff equals, then open a square bracket, then include the elements we want into the list, and then close the square bracket. So let's say stuff is equals to 2, 9, 7, 8, and 1, and then we close the square brackets, and there we have defined a list. So this is a list of numbers, and all the elements in this list are integers. However, you can have elements of different data type in a list. So if we say, for example, stuff new, and of course if we want to look into the list, we just say stuff or print stuff, and we have it printed to the screen. Okay, so we can have lists with elements of different data types. So let's say stuff new equals 3.0 bacon back on. We can also say we can have booleans, false, 5, and let's have another string in this case. So we have a float, a string, a boolean, an integer, and another string. Okay, and we can even have lists as list elements. So for example, we declare the same list, say stuff new, and we add another element that's going to actually be a list. So let's say 8, great, and another string, cyber. So this is also a valid declaration of a list. So we closed the first square bracket, and then we close the second square bracket for the entire list. So in this case, this is a nested list. That's how you call it. All right, I told you that there are different built-in Python methods for lists. That basically means that we can do standard manipulations with the lists we usually declare in Python. For example, if you want to know the length of a list or how many elements it has, you type len stuff new, and it's gonna say 6. Please be aware that in Python, indexing starts at 0. So in this case, the 0th element is 3.0, and then the last element, our nested list, is at index 6. We can access each element by its index. So if we say stuff new 0, this is the first element, so 3.0. And if we want to access the last element, which is 6 in this case, we say stuff new 6, list index out of range. So this, the 6th element, since this list contains 6 elements, the first element is 3.0, so this is at index 0, and the 6th element is at index 5. So stuff new 5, it's gonna say our nested list. Okay, now to look at all the methods of lists, we can simply type dir stuff new, and we will be looking at the methods available for our particular list. And we can see them over here. But a better way to view is by typing stuff underscore new, then a dot, and then we hit the tab key. And this is actually a better way to view all the methods. And the ones that are mostly used are those that do not start with an underscore. So we have append, clear, and the rest of them. So stuff new dot append, this will add an item of your choice at the end of the list. So let's say stuff new append 3, it's going to append number 3 to the end of the list. So if we look at stuff new once again, we can see that we have a 3 over there. Okay, so again, stuff underscore new dot hit tab, and we can see again all the methods of the list. Another method is the clear method, which will empty the list. Another method is the pop method, which will remove an element from the list. So if you provide no argument to the pop element, if I would just hit enter over here, it would pop 3 from the list. So it would pop the last element from the list. If I add an argument, the argument should be the index of the item that I want to remove from the list. So for example, in this case, if I want to remove bacon from the list, bacon is at index 1. So 0 is 3, 1 is bacon. So if I say stuff new.pop 1 is going to remove bacon from the list. And if we look again at stuff underscore new, we can see that we don't have bacon in there anymore. What a pain. Okay, so another important method is the sort method, which will sort the list if the elements are sortable, such as in the case of numbers, and of course the rest of the methods over here. Now feel free to explore these methods on your own. If you want to know more about a method, you can simply say help, and let's say stuff underscore new sort, and this is going to display an information about the sort method of this list. So these are some basic concepts of the lists. Now let me briefly also mention tuples and sets. So tuples are very similar to lists as concepts. We define the lists by square brackets, but when we define tuples, we use parentheses. That's one difference. But the major difference is that while lists are mutable, tuples are immutable. The fact that lists are mutable, so mutable, simply means that their elements can be changed. Immutable, so immutable, means that they cannot be changed, such as in the case of tuples. For example, if we have a list, again, stuff list equals to 2 this 3, we can do all the manipulations that I have previously mentioned. So stuff list dot hit tab, we can see all the manipulations that we can do on this list. So like for example, we can pop an item, and if we look at stuff list, we can see that number 3 is gone. However, if we have a tuple, so let's say stuff tuple equals to this 3, and like I said, we declare tuples with parentheses. Okay, now we cannot change or do any manipulations on this immutable list or tuple. So if I type stuff underscore tuple dot and then hit the tab key, we can only see the count method and the index method. So the count method allows us to count the number of occurrences of an element in the tuple, and the index is for displaying the index of an element. And that's actually all you can do with a tuple. So tuples can be advantageous over lists in situations in which we have data that doesn't change. which basically ensures its write protection property. Okay, now the final point of discussion for today. So we have lists, tuples, and we also have sets. So we define sets with the curly brackets. Now, how are sets different from lists or tuples? Well, in sets, each element is unique and cannot be changed, thus is immutable, unlike in lists. However, the set can take new unique elements or can have elements removed from it. And that's the difference between the set and the tuple. The tuple is immutable. So let's say stuff underscore set equals, so like I said, we declare it with curly brackets, 2, this, and 3. And if I want to check all the manipulations possible to this set, we'll just say stuff set dot hit the tab key, and we can see that we can add elements, copy elements, discard, perform operations such as intersection, union, etc. If I type stuff set dot add, let's say 9, and we look again at the set, there you have it. There's a 9 in this set. And if I type stuff set add, and we try to add a 2, it will actually not add 2 because we already have 2 in there, and like I said, the set elements are unique and immutable. So if I look into stuff set one more time, we can see that there is no added element to it. Alright, now before finishing off, I want to mention that there's another way of creating empty lists, tuples, or sets in Python. So for example, if you want to create an empty list, you can simply say stuff list and then say list. And this will actually create an empty list to which you can further add elements with the append method. So if we look again at the stuff list, we can see it's an empty list. This is also, and another way to actually declare an empty list would say simply stuff list, and then we have the empty list. Now for tuple, you can say stuff tuple equals tuple, and that's how you declare an empty tuple. If we look at the type, stuff tuple, it'll say it's a tuple. Alright, and of course for sets, we can say stuff set, and then we declare it with the set. And that's an empty set. There you go. Alright, so these are lists, tuples, and sets. They might be a bit confusing at first, but as you keep working with them in Python, things will clear up quickly. Please make sure to check the resources document accompanying this video for further mandatory readings on lists, tuples, and sets, as they are very important in understanding and successfully working with and implementing them in Python. In the next video, we'll learn about dictionaries.